We just watched the movie,
Yeah,
and now we're gonna talk about it. What movies we
exactly.
watch?
We watched Yes Man. It's directed by Peyton Reed, who also did Ant-Man, the Ant-Man series. And it's starred by Jim Carrey. And this character is called Carl. And the whole premise is about just this guy who normally says no to everything. I'd say he's middle aged, 30s,
Yeah.
maybe late 20s. Yeah, he works in a bank. He goes home, watches movies, doesn't really go out with his friends or anything like that. He keeps to himself. But then he meets an old friend from high school and he introduces him to this convention that like preaches about saying yes to everything and living life. And so he goes to this convention and then his life has changed. He starts saying yes to everything. And everything just keeps getting better and better because he's saying yes, he's having all these new lived experiences. Everything's looking on the up. And then obviously a, a girl gets in the picture, a love interest. And then the climax of the movie is that she finds out that he's saying yes to everything, so she doesn't think that he's being genuine, but then he learns that you only say yes to the things you want to do. And then we live happily ever after. So what did you think about the show?
I love this movie just because it was very much a feel good movie and it's light-hearted and it's
Mm.
what I typically would want to watch. Also, it's a romantic comedy, and that's
Is it
part
a
of
rom
what
com? I don't think it's a rom com.
that's what rom-com is? Oh, that makes sense. If it
Romantic.
stays okay, yeah, you learn something new every day. I would say so.
It's not a rom com. A rom com, like,
Come on, the
cause
story
love wasn't
revolved
the
around his.
love wasn't the center of the movie. It
It
was
was
more about
more
like his
comedy
life.
than romantic, but it makes sense,
Yeah,
I think.
I would rate the movie a 3.1 out of 5. It was very predictable, but I liked the story. I
I
liked
find it
like the
predictable.
message they tried to send across.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
I mean, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But what did you rate it?
Uh, I loved it, but as a movie, it would probably be like maybe 3.5,
Uh-huh.
3 to 3.5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the moral of the movie: say yes to everything, just so you can live life, have some meaning in your life. I understand. I feel like we've both been in situations in uni where it's like for a couple of months or for a couple of weeks maybe you don't really feel like doing anything, so like people are going out, you're like, no, I'm okay, I'll stay at home. Have you had that before? 'Cause I think I've had periods where that definitely happens.
I had that, but that came after the period of saying yes to everything
Oh,
because I was new and wanted to be liked.
okay.
And yeah,
So
I think
that's what made you say yes, just the fact that you didn't know anybody.
I think for me, I approach more things um starting out by saying yes rather than
No.
no. I feel like that's the opposite of you.
So you say yes, and then depending on whether you like it or not, next time you say yes or no.
But it's less circumstantial the situation because now if I think about it, it's more uh there was a period where I was just saying yes to everything and then I had to reevaluate things and now I say it a lot less.
What made you reevaluate saying yes?
Uh, Two main factors. One, I was spending way too much time. Because I said yes to everything, it took a lot of time in doing those activities that wasn't work or something, and I realized, oh, I'm spending way too much time just quote unquote having fun, and I didn't realize because to
Mm-hmm.
me it was just like there's an event happening and I'm saying yes to it, and I didn't think about it more than that. And the other side was, uh, whether I really wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you found out that you didn't want to do it.
not so much, no. Yeah.
But do you get that feeling that life is passing you by now that you say yes a lot less?
Yeah, I think that's maybe part of where the movie was a bit flawed in the beginning, well, in its premise, because I think, socially speaking, if you say no a lot, you get invited out less.
Mhm.
But in the beginning of the movie, it made it seem like everyone was constantly still asking him out, and if he's saying no all that, like, to all those times, then I doubt it would keep up, right? Um, but yeah, that's just a very small aspect of this. What about you? You say
Um,
yes? You say no? What's your attitude?
thing I've never been the one to like constantly say yes or constantly say no. I feel like a lot of the time I base it off of what I think my enjoyment would be if
Mm-hmm.
I do it or not. There
Right.
have been some times when I've just said yes, but only to be like a nice person, like
Mm-hmm.
it was somebody's birthday and they wanted to go techno, and I said yes because it was their birthday, not because I wanted to go techno. I didn't enjoy it, but I still went, and I knew I wasn't gonna enjoy it. So it's not the thing that I wanted to say yes. I just said it out of being nice, and I haven't been to techno ever since. But there's also been times where I know that I have to lock in, so to speak, and then just have to say no to going out or hanging out with people. But I think similar to you, I say no a lot more often than saying yes. But I also think it depends on the crowd.
Would you think, well, okay, let me phrase this differently. Do you think you're predictable as to whether you'll say yes or no to something?
Yes, I think that I feel like if you know me well enough, you'll know what I'll say yes or no
Yeah.
to. And so, like, I've noticed, like, people don't ask me to go out to certain things. Like, if it's a slim radio event, if it's like an alternative type of vibe, no one is gonna bother to ask me. If it's a rave, no one's gonna bother to ask me because I'm gonna say no. So yeah, I think like I am predictable in what I say yes or no to, and I feel like the movie kind of tries to teach you not to do that and to
Mm-hmm.
like still go, and you never know what happens kind of thing, and that if you have all these lived experiences, it's gonna come in handy someday. And I get that, but at the same time, it was just a movie. But I want to bring up something like at the very beginning where it was like it was his friend's bachelor party or something,
Mm-hmm.
and he said no to, or he missed it and was like, "Oh, I'll make it up to you." Have you ever had a moment where you've said no and felt bad after?
If I feel bad, it was very momentary. I haven't said no and uh been in a position to feel bad about it, I suppose. I've more so regretted saying no before.
Mm,
Yeah.
why?
Mostly probably like FOMO, fear of missing out or something, or the idea that it affects uh oh well, the big one is people forming assumptions in their judgment based on me saying no to this one thing.
Mm,
It's kind of annoying when you're just speaking to someone and then they throw out that line like, oh, but you'll never do this, or oh, you're not the type to do that. And it's like, what makes you say that? And like, you said no last time. And then like, why did you decide that? And then you're in like
right,
this back
right,
and forth. Yeah.
right.
What about you?
I don't think I've ever been in position to regret saying no. I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I always stand 10 toes on my decisions. If I say no, I mean
That's good.
it. But on the flip side, have you ever said yes to something you were gonna say no to and then ended up enjoying it?
Oh, so many times. Most
Really?
days. Yeah. I
So
think
then
that's
why are you still in
most
that
of my yeses.
position of like saying yes less often? If you have said yes a lot of times to things that you didn't want to go to and then end up having fun, I would then think that you say yes more often.
Because there are certain things that have narrowed my scope on what I think I like to do and what I don't like to do. Like, uh I'm not the biggest fan of going out like clubbing basically,
Mm.
and I don't like drinking or smoking, so um it's a little bit different from a lot of our peers currently, and obviously that's not a problem. However, it's a different experience, and maybe say uh I go out like 5 times, maybe twice will be unexpectedly better than I thought it would be. But
Mm-hmm.
that is way too little
Mm-hmm.
for me to be like, oh, I'm just gonna say yes next time. It's like stuff like this will make me rather say no.
Yeah, but I feel like for me, it's been the opposite. Whenever I say yes, even when like I'm expecting to enjoy myself, I don't. And that like leads me to say yes a lot less often. But I think what the movie showed was that you really need to like fully put yourself into it. You can't just say yes, you need to like actually do
Mm.
it,
Yeah,
you know?
fully commit.
And maybe I do have problems with that, fully
Yeah.
committing to the things that I say yes to, like the techno event. I mean, I already went with the mindset that I'm not gonna enjoy it. So like, I think 30 minutes in, I put in my AirPods and was like, I'm gonna listen to my own music because this is
Oh
actually
my
fun.
goodness.
So yeah, I think that's a good lesson to learn. In the movie, in one scene, Carl, our main character, is having a deep conversation with the lady, and she said something interesting.
With Zoe Deschanel's character?
Yeah,
Alison, I think her name. Yeah.
she said the world is a playground.
She said that?
She did. I wrote it
Okay.
down because I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. Do you think the world's a playground?
Absolutely. Do you?
I don't know. We had a conversation in a previous podcast episode where you said you would you see yourself as living or like going through life rather than life going through you.
Yeah.
But I feel like saying that the world is a playground, I feel like implies that you should let the world or life go through you. That was the whole
Mhm.
premise of the show. Like you say yes to whatever comes your way. Let life come at you. So why do you say now that you think the world is a playground?
Mm, because my interpretation of it is that if you don't go to the playground and you don't play, then nothing's going to happen. Which is why
Mm.
it's still that I'm coming at life rather than life coming through me. So I think one of the other main premises of the show was not just to say yes to everything, but initially starting out saying yes to everything, and that's what's supposed to trigger you to become, uh, to start wanting to actually do those things, and then have these meaningful yeses, right? That mean things to you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's like supposed to evolve to. That's the second step to all of this. So
Do you
if it
think there's any application of this outside of like social life?
outside of social
It's
life,
in the, I mean, they used a very silly example at work. He gave loans to a bunch of
mm,
people, and then that in some way ended up, promoting him to above what his boss was at. You think, like, for example, in uni or like picking minors or a master's degree, saying yes to, or like, going at every opportunity you get instead of like being more reserved and staying on a narrower path.
yeah, I think it gets harder to some extent to have those opportunities offered to you the later on you move like in life. So saying yes just randomly into everything would be quite important to make sure you're not falling down that trajectory. I feel like so many people once they're, in a bit of a rhythm with their like their work life and their social life, tend to think that they know what they want and they won't change it. Or
Mm-hmm.
if they do have this random outburst of saying yes to something that is just short lived as well. Uh, because I was listening to this podcast where these two people they're recently married and they're in their early 30s and they have this trait that they admire about each other, and it's that they know what they say they know what they want and they're not afraid to make a point of it basically. So they're not willing to try new foods at a new restaurant. They
Mm.
know what they like, and at each restaurant they'll have the same thing. And I think, gosh, that is, I mean, yeah, if you really truly know that about yourself, sure, that's one way of saying it, but that's still quite young to start closing yourself off from these things.
Mm.
I mean, do you think you started to close off from a few things, like because you're a little more self assured of yourself?
I think so. I think it is good to have some routine. I feel like that gives structure. I feel like it kind of also maybe gives you more. It's weird. It's kind of a double-edged sword. When you have a routine, you give
Yeah,
yourself more time or space to like try new things. But at the same time, when you're trying a bunch of new things, you don't have that routine, and so like you said, you don't have time to do other stuff because you're always saying yes to different stuff.
yeah,
But I think essentially that having a routine would do more good than harm. Obviously, like there's a limit, and having like a highly routinized life will then make you boring and sad and die alone and whatever. But yeah, why do you think the opposite?
what do you mean?
Well, you said you were like it's too early to kind of to close off your life or like start having such a routine. When would be the ideal time for you to when or how would you know that okay you've lived enough.
I think it should be a more gradual process. And I'm sure it was still for those people that they're not saying no to everything, but I think they're probably not saying yes to enough things um at that stage. So yeah, it's like now we have some opinions, like me saying I'm not the biggest fan of smoking and drinking. That is sort of a barrier I've closed now.
Mm.
Uh, but again, it's like maybe 10% of myself that I've decided is fixed, and now I'm still open with 90% to do something else. And I imagine every 5 years that's going to increase by like 10, 15, or perhaps 20%, but that's still fine on this trajectory. I mean, if I'm 20 now, I will still be open to things a relatively good amount, I think, by like 35, or I don't know, this is just me speculating. I
Mm.
wanted to bring back the other thing you're saying. I end up having more fun. Oh well, it happens that I end up having more fun at things I say yes to begrudgingly because I think I'm a lot more optimistic when I step out, uh I don't quite have like a negative mindset. It's also why I think I rate movies way too highly, because I don't think that I can watch a bad movie, because if I think that I watched a bad movie, then it's like admitting that I just wasted 2 hours of my life, and I
Mm.
don't like the idea of that. So I approach a lot more things with a slightly better attitude. So it might not necessarily accurately reflect what I have, what I am, or what I think, but it ends up with a better outcome.
Okay.
So that's my thing on me saying no and then saying yes.
Mm. In the movie also there was a point where he's in the bar with his buddy, the lawyer guy. And the lawyer guy's like, so are you gonna keep saying yes even if bad stuff keeps happening? And he's like, yeah, that's the philosophy. You gotta say yes, because the bad stuff can eventually lead to good stuff. You just gotta
Yeah.
keep saying yes. Well, what is your take on that? Like, even if, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of having this optimistic mindset that, one good thing will outweigh the 10 bad things that have happened. And it's also a very optimistic mindset to think that something good will happen at the end of
Mm.
all the bad, right? And it would take, you know, it takes quite a bit of you to do anything with that,
Mm.
because I think part of the issue with the saying yes thing is the amount of risk involved.
Mm.
And that is the part that's like terrifying. And
Mm.
it's like how the first thing we saw with that guy who was saying yes to things, the friend that introduced him to this conference, was he threw a rock through a window and
Yeah.
then got tackled, right?
Mm.
And it's like, oh, that's crazy. That has implications.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he did it and essentially set the tone. Even though that part's a little less realistic, probably.
I think the overall idea of like trying to get out
Yeah,
of your comfort zone is, I mean, I feel like yeah, no brainer.
yeah,
Like
I
I've
agree.
had experiences where I've gone out of my comfort zone and it's been like a good experience. Like I went to a conference in Germany last October. I didn't first when I was told about it, I didn't want to go. And
Yeah,
but then I looked to my dad and he was like, "You better do that." I was like, "Okay." And then I went and it was like it was good. It felt good. Same thing with like joining a football team and playing every Sunday. Like at first I was like, what, I'm like I was okay with playing maybe on Thursday nights by myself shooting around because like that is a whole commitment that I have to commit to, and then it's like these are other really good players. How am I gonna compare to them? But then stepping outside of my comfort zone and playing with them, like I've made like 11 friends. Is so yeah. I mean, stepping out of your comfort zone definitely definitely leads to like a more fun, more interesting life experience. You have stories to tell, you know. I feel like that's a big part of growing up, having stories to tell. I mean, because I mean, when you look forward and you're in your 60s and you know you have nothing to tell your grandkids about your story except in uni I studied hard and got all my grades up and graduated with honors. You know, that's not really the things that matter a lot in life.
Yeah, I think one of my mini philosophies at the moment coming from that is in order to grow, you have to just constantly be in this like um this period of discomfort. So if you want to go through that, you have to find like the comfort in the discomfort and whatnot, and that's probably what is the thing that people don't want to do. They don't want to be uncomfortable, right?
So what if you then put yourself out there and then it ends up being unfruitful? Like you said, like if you end up, how do you avoid that feeling of you've wasted that 2 hours of your life watching that movie, you know, when it's bad? When you say yes to something that ends up not being good, how do you battle that to keep saying yes?
Probably what the movie was saying is to just fully commit to something when you say yes to it. Like just your mindset, you know, if you're
Mhm.
just approaching it with a better mindset because you've already said yes, so now just go in and either have no expectations or have great expectation. You know,
But then it turns out bad. What do you do then?
still what the movie said. At the end of all these bad things happening, something good will happen, and that's also,
I don't know.
you know, a bit dicey.
Because two examples. One a little bit more of a harsh reality, but I'll start with the lighter one. So, I mean, at the start of, or at this in the second semester, when they started like building up the board
Mm.
and whatever the study association, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. You know, put myself out there.
That was fairly surprising for me.
I yeah, so I joined the then administrative committee. We tried to write the statutes and bylaws, and it was an occasion. I put myself into it, like I was fully committed. We had meetings, we wrote it up, and I figured out it was something that's not for me. And it took a lot then for me to then join the career committee this semester or last semester because it was like I just put myself into this thing that I I said yes to and then it ended up being a terrible experience.
Mhm.
I don't want to come out of my shell again. How do you go from there? Second one then is um actually I don't want to talk about the second
Okay.
one. Go.
Uh, well, going back to the premise of the movie, it's that at the end of all these things, like all these bad things happening, something good will happen. But this requires you to, one, say yes to everything. I mean, part of this idea was that the second you said no, something bad was going to happen, and I think that goes hand in hand with the idea of fully committing. That you're fully committing to saying yes now, which means you're gonna say to yes to everything after this, and maybe going to the point of whether this serves you, whether this is what you want, and whether it's worth the time, debatable. But if you had continued to say yes following the administrative committee because that's what you were trying to do to just step out of your comfort zone, then maybe it would definitely have been easier to join the career committee when the time came, right? I mean, there was a good year probably in between these two things happening. So
Year, couple of
a couple
months.
months. Oh my gosh, my sense of time is warped. Um, but
Year.
yeah, I thought never mind. Um,
No, but it's also like okay, so hypothetically,
yeah.
saying you're going for a master's, you pick a program and it's a 2 year master's, but in the first year, it's bad, and everybody's saying it's bad. But you wanting to keep saying yes, you go through it.
Hmm.
And but then at the end, when you now need to maybe go for a PhD or find a job, it's like, oh, I actually didn't learn anything. Do you still keep saying yes, or do you acknowledge the fact that you should have said no earlier? Do you see
But
what I'm?
that's the thing. You wouldn't even consider reevaluating all of this if you were still fully committing to the bit. If you were still fully committing to the idea that you said yes and you're happy with your choice and you're moving on to the next yes and you're gonna just fully go into whatever is coming next, there would be no point where you're gonna think back and think,
But how do you know there's going to be a next year? How do you stay fully committed when everything around looks
That's
so
see,
bad?
that's the thing. If I think that no matter what, if you're fully committing to something, then good things will happen. But that requires that full
But I
commitment. The
think
same
that
as
first year
life.
of full commitment has already taught you enough to know whether or not you want to continue with it or not, right?
Yeah.
You've learned something from that first yes. Why would you keep going? Like, let's say you get a job and it's like a boring job, but you said yes to it in the beginning and it's like you don't like it. How do you, I guess, keep yourself in that mindset of seeing the bigger picture and
Yeah.
keep saying yes rather than then when is the point where you realize, okay, I need to switch careers because this is not for me or this is not helping?
I mean, that was the point of the movie towards the end, right? It's that it comes to a point where you have to mindfully say yes.
But where is that point?
Maybe it's at the point of accepting that the first no you're gonna say is going to have repercussions. That it's going to take a hit and it's gonna be harder to say the next yes, and it's going to be harder to get into that mindset of correcting yourself to say this yes and say yes for the next maybe five opportunities, no matter how it turns out, because something good might happen. Because go like that. I don't know what.
Yes. um. Okay. So you say yes because you want to, and not
Well,
you start saying yes
yeah,
because
maybe apply. Yeah,
YOLO.
sorry.
I'm saying you start saying yes because YOLO, but then there gets to a point where you need to say yes because you want to,
Yeah, I
and
think.
only you can know that point.
Yeah, I think it's like you have to, if you're in a bit of a rut, then you have to reevaluate things and decide to not just say yes to everything, and then uh, at one point let that trigger you to actually want to do the things you're saying yes to, because it's assuming that at first the things you're saying yes to are all to things that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and by doing so, at one point you'll start wanting to do it, and that's when you can trust yourself a little more in your yes.
So do you also say yes to things that your parents want you to do?
Your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's something you don't want to do, so say yes. Or do you mean like the second part of it?
No, I'm just saying, like in general, like when do you stop saying yes to the things your parents want you to do and start saying yes to the things you want to do if they are conflicting?
If well, that depends on your relationship with your parents. If you're able to say no, then it's a bit of a different story to if you're not
Mm-hmm.
able to. But say that you are, then it's about if saying yes will bring you something, you know.
But you wouldn't know until you say yes and do it. Fully commit, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
So what is it?
Just say yes.
Just say yes.
I think what we should do is now think of it as like imagine this was one of the books you read and that's what it was preaching, like Atomic Habits preaching that you should create good habits. What are you going to now do in your life? Is this something you're going to implement?
Saying yes.
Yeah.
um
No.
no, I think that there is some like some truth, there is some value to what the movie's premises are. You should be more outgoing, you should be more out there. That's how like you can't be upset that things aren't happening when you're not actively making an effort to make things happen. I feel
Yeah.
like that's really the message. Like if you want something to change, you have to be willing to accept change. A lot of people want change, but as human beings, I don't think we're conditioned for change. We
Yeah.
need to like nobody wants really like wants it, you know? So like you really just need to put yourself out there and like live with that mentality of like some things you just have to say yes. If you stay in your comfort zone for too long, you're going to end up letting your life slip away. And that is a good philosophy to live by. I'm not saying that I'm gonna start saying yes to everything that people tell me to do or ask me to do, but I'm definitely gonna I guess, think more critically on why I say no to certain things.
I would also recommend that you change your mindset from the things that you do say yes to, because it's like half-assing your yes. If you're saying yes to techno, but then you are going into it thinking, I'm gonna hate this, then you're more likely to have a shitty experience with the yes, right?
Mhm.
But another part of the movie wasn't just about the opportunities he was getting because he was saying yes. He was saying yes to mundane things like giving that homeless man a ride, and then it was
Mundane. I think being a good person is mundane.
no, but that's I feel like it's different because now I think well at least to me in my head we were still talking about the idea of saying yes to um getting invited out and
Mm.
uh I don't know getting opportunities in your job. But now what about saying yes to the small things? Do you say no to small things?
Such as.
What is a relevant example in our life? Uh, I don't know. What's something you said no to?
um, Small things. I don't know. Well,
You said
what?
yes to that homeless guy that sold you the bike. That's something you did that I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
have done.
Oh yeah. Why did
There
I?
you got something. You got a
Yeah.
bike for a cheap cost. That was
We don't know that he was
impressive.
homeless. First of
I thought you
all,
said he was homeless.
he didn't. Did he? Oh, maybe he
No,
did.
I thought you told. I
Maybe
wasn't there.
he. I think he might have mentioned
We
that
should
he
tell the
was.
story from the start.
Okay.
Would you like to tell?
Cut and play. So I mean, thinking about, I did say yes to a homeless guy selling me a bike for 20 euros. Um, it was outside of uni. Um, in like the very beginning of the first semester of this year.
See, the part that blew my mind is that you didn't have 20 euros in cash.
I
And
didn't know that he wanted it in cash.
well, I don't think you could have ticketed him probably.
Yeah, well, the thing is, this guy comes up to me. He's wearing like a nice jacket.
Yeah?
Like he looks well put together. He
Yeah?
has a cap on, and he's selling me this bike for 20 euros. It looks like a good bike. I already have a bike, but it looks like a good bike. It's a good deal. And he was like really like pressing me. Like I, like when you're in uncomfortable situations, you just say yes. Like when a waitress or waiter comes up to you and like suggests or asks you for if you want something and you don't have the heart to say no, so you just say yes. I was kind of put in that situation. So it's not that I said yes because I want to live outside of my comfort zone and try new things. I was simply just pressured into saying yes to buying this bike because everybody around me had the street smartness to just ignore him. But I made eye contact, and so he just started. He saw the opportunity and just went for it and started talking and talking. I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he says cash. I'm like, oh, can we go to the ATM? So we go to the Albert to the ATM. I withdraw 20 euros. I give it to him, and I get the bike. And then immediately, I just start panicking, like, what the fuck I'm gonna do with this bike? I'm thinking like now I need to get a chain for this bike to like lock it somewhere, and then like find someone to sell it to in marketplace. I download the app. I'm taking pictures of the bike, and then okay, I know somebody who just started a bike shop of like fixing and selling bikes. I'm just gonna sell it to him. So then I contact him real quick. I'm like, you know what? You can take whatever price, but like reasonably fair. So then I ended up selling it for a 30 euro profit. And that was an experience that I can now tell as a story on this podcast. But would I do it again? No.
It's so funny because there are so many times during that story that if it were me, I would have just shut it down. Also, your tolerance to awkwardness is very, very brief. Like it's so short that I'm surprised. I'm surprised you even recognize that there is like an awkwardness there.
I think it's a concept specific thing. A lot of the time, yes, like I would avoid it as in whatever ways that I could see possible. But yeah, with the mindset of this yes, I would have been maybe more enthusiastic about saying yes. Thank you for the bike. I would have been more calm. I would have probably ended up selling it for way more money, but just in that moment, I was kind of I was put outside my comfort zone. I was panicking. I was just thrown in the deep, and I couldn't swim. So I just needed a buoy, a lifeguard to like come in and save me.
Hey, now you have a great story.
Yeah,
Fun fact, that bike was stolen.
from you.
Yeah, well, not
Cycle repeats. 20 euros.
yeah, right. That part too. We think that the bike was a stolen bike to begin with.
Yeah, it probably was a 20 euro bike. Yeah.
Okay, now back to this routine thing. I was once in this position where I pretty much had to decide going to the gym or spending time with friends. Going to the gym matters to me, and I wasn't too keen on spending this time with like friends. It was to watch a movie, I think, at like a house, and they're good friends. But I also hadn't been spending a lot of time with him, so my predicament was, I don't want to turn into the person that keeps saying no. So I know I'll have a decent time if I go to them. However, what I wanted to do was just stay in the gym and continue with my routine. Obviously, there's nothing wrong in not going. It wouldn't have affected anything. But it's part of my routine and something I want to do. What would you have done in that position?
I'd have gone to spend time with the
With the
friends.
friends?
Because I feel like the another nice thing about routine is that it it's gonna keep happening, right? It's a routine. If you don't, if you break it today, you expect to keep it going tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So an opportunity that's more rare, you would go for it.
That's not that rare either.
Yeah, but it's more rare than going to the gym. So yeah, I would then go on that basis.
Okay, say it was an activity that you're even more like less interested in because maybe you're partially inclined because it's watching a movie and you like watching movies. Say that it was what's something that makes it less likely
Like
to be
something that I wouldn't, that I don't want to do, then I wouldn't do
like,
it.
yeah?
Yeah, because I don't want to do it. But
What if
I feel
what
like
if it was like
from this,
cooking with your friends? Cooking a dinner.
that's okay.
Yeah? Okay. What could be worse? Like coding techno? Okay, yeah, but going to the gym or going out for techno.
Then I would go to the
Or
gym.
go to the
But
gym.
I feel like this movie is telling me to go to techno,
Mm,
so maybe I
yeah.
might. But another thing is, a lot of the times when I talk with my parents, my dad specifically, he says, not everything you can do, you should do. Like, not
Yeah, it's
everything
been
that is possible is beneficial. Something like that. He says it better than I can say it. I don't remember the exact words. But yeah, so like that's kind of the counter argument to saying yes to everything. You could do it, but is it helpful? But if you go on the kind of criteria that is this helpful for me or not, then I feel like you're gonna end up doing a lot less things
hmm
because I mean, in the at the end of the day, a lot of the things you wouldn't know the direct benefit until you do it. That's something to also keep in mind.
See, last year when the time when I was saying yes to everything, um, I I had absolutely no routine. I'd never built one before, and it also prevented me from building one because I was just saying literally yes to everything. I remember there was for a long period of time, for weeks on end, even months, I think, where I would barely be home. Every meal, every experience was just outside, and that was crazy. And then it took a period of having to completely reset that and literally saying no to everything to build up some semblance of a routine before I could do this again. And that was sort of the drawback of saying yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at my mom wrote me a letter when I
It's nice.
moved out the house to go to uni, right? And I was reading it the other day, and one of the big things she wrote was don't say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And something like that said too, because I guess they just know me well enough that I was the type of kid to just want to do everything to the point where they'd have to say that to me, which, I don't know if you would have guessed that about me, just because now I think I'm
Yeah, I don't think.
quite
Yeah,
different from
yeah.
that. Yeah, and that was like a whole experience to go through as well. My parents were always scared that like that, bad things have happened and bad things could happen and it would be, your time is important. If you're just constantly giving it out, then that's only to your drawback and everyone else's benefit too.
I mean, I see glimpses of it, like you go on spontaneous walks when the weather's good, or I remember when you said you're gonna go to the cat cafe with a friend. I was like, what? You know, like I've seen glimpses of you like being spontaneous and saying yes to stuff, but I feel like it's. I mean, based on what I'm hearing from you now, it's a lot more toned down than you were before.
Yeah, I think entirely. It's by saying no a lot more, not only has it narrowed down what I do in my day to day, it's also caused me to reevaluate like who I would like to spend time with, and
Hmm.
that changed quite drastically. It'll cut out a lot of people that would invite me out to things, and I don't mind. However, I'm sure there are like other drawbacks to this type of thing, and then slowly, I'm falling into that hole that I think I said that every adult falls into, and it's just routine.
I think that sometime this year we should have a week or a month where you say yes to everything. It could be over the summer.
To
You could
everything.
for the whole summer say yes to everything and see what happens. I
Okay,
think that
but
would
we
be a.
don't get that many opportunities now, right? Because saying
You would be
saying yes
surprised.
to everything would mean that you would have a lot of things coming at you.
No,
So I should go actively look for things.
no. I'm just saying if things come, you say yes. I feel like you're thinking about it like in retrospect and saying, oh,
Mhm.
there's not that much things, but it's because you say no a lot. If you really like actively say yes, I think you would find that there are a lot of things that happen
I
naturally.
think I can tell you that I haven't said no to anything in a while.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm quite positive.
I don't think so.
You saw me at the club, and that was surprising to some people, apparently. The
Which
other
club?
week, Slim Radio.
Oh, yeah, but that was different. You told me that
I
you
went swimming, and I was very indecisive about that. Yes,
Mhm.
2 days ago.
And did you have fun?
I did.
See,
Well, I ended up realizing I would, and that's why I went. But yeah,
everybody,
I can
everything.
comfortably say that I've been saying yes.
Okay, so keep living like that. It's clearly working, right? But I think the main takeaway from I mean what we've been talking about so far is that before you start saying yes to everything, I feel like you should have some sort of routine.
Yeah,
So
no, that would
then
be
like if
important.
things do get bad, you have something to fall back to, you
Hmm.
know? Then once you start saying yes, then you kind of start figuring out, okay, you have like settings in your subconscious that know what to say yes to willingly, what to say no to.
I think we should do 2 weeks during school of saying yes to everything.
During school.
Yeah, because I think that's when things are busy.
I think we should do it this semester though, because
Yeah,
I feel like next
let's
semester
do
I
it
will.
soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next week and the week after.
Not next week because no one's back next week. Next week we still have off, right?
But we have class
Just
on
the
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, it's not. Okay, fine. Start next week.
Next week
I
and the
think
week
you'll have
after.
it
But
down.
we can't like say things to yeah, we can't say things to each other. Yes. That otherwise that's not fair.
Yeah, I'll just tell other people to say things.
But no, that doesn't no. You literally like can't interfere. You have to let life work
Let
its
life
magic.
happen.
Yeah, you gotta let life happen. You
Okay.
can't manipulate life. But yeah, okay.
Do you expect positive outcomes from this?
I don't know
Like,
what I expect. Should
okay, that's
be
good. Have nice.
interesting. Should be fun. We'll talk about it
Mm-hmm.
when after it happens. The results of this little experiment. Okay.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Yes, and some.
It is 2 weeks
And some. Because
later.
Caleb was sick and we had to postpone this.
Yeah. And so we are going to reflect on yes week. So what happened?
I didn't have too much happen. The first week was very slow. I'm pretty sure nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second week, oh, I watched a football game with friends. Really unexpected. Went to the gym with a girl I've never been with. And oh, I went on a date. Right, that was the big one.
You went to the gym with a
With
friend?
Katie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are we saying
And
that?
also with a friend.
Okay.
Okay. And oh, um, I also tried alcohol in a group setting with a friend because she asked me if I wanted some. I realized I had to say yes, and
Have
then she
you
kept offering, and I kept saying
okay.
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's start with the first thing.
What did you do? No, that's what was just
Um, I went to a birthday party, which I was going to say yes to anyways, because that's what nice people do. I went to a food festival, which I I might have still gone to if it wasn't yes week, but I don't know. I almost went to another city to see the Northern Lights because there was a weird thing that happened, and then we could see it all the way here in the Netherlands. And then I went to a party. That was the last thing that I did for yes week. That I think I would have also gone to if it wasn't for yes week. But yeah, I mean the birthday party was nice. Um, I couldn't stay for long because I had other things that I had said yes to, namely watching football. And I think that's one thing that the movie doesn't explicitly mention is that if you say yes to everything, some things will be at the same time and then you have to pick which one to go to. So I ran into that a couple of times, but ultimately just ended up choosing what to do based on what I wouldn't normally do, which is interesting. So I think in a realistic situation, you would do what you would want to do, not necessarily what you wouldn't normally do. But for the experiment, I decided to go with that rule. So yeah, food festival was really good. Had a lot of good food. Tried some Argentinian steak, some Chinese noodles, which I normally already eat, and then some Dutch desserts. I don't remember the name, but it was really good. There's a bunch of other things there, like Jamaican food and some South American countries, some Thai food. But it was fun, and it was like a sunny day. It was very crowded, a lot of people. Just good energy. Um, so the Northern Lights. Well, before we get to Northern Lights, what explain your situations?
my situations. I think the first day of going to school, there were a few of our friends were watching. It's like a Champions League game
Mhm.
between Dortmund and some other team I can't remember. And I don't think I usually would have gone to it because I think I was kind of tired. Um, and did I go home first and then bike there or I can't remember. But I went to the gym and then I went there and it turned out to be like unexpectedly really fun with a group of people I don't need to hang out with. So
See?
that was nice. I kept forgetting it was yes week at some point because my friends have been on Tinder a lot. I thought I'd check it out, and then I was asked out, and then I was like, oh my god, it's yes week. So we went on a date. Uh, this was the first. I was very nervous. It was fine.
First date ever?
Yeah,
Like actual date?
yeah.
Okay.
This whole Tinder thing and meeting with a stranger and whatnot. He was old. He was 7 years older than me. Um,
Okay.
he was a business person, so the whole conversation it was 5 hours long. This thing was long. Because we ended up talking a lot. Well, he ended up talking a lot.
Oh.
I got a free meal out of it, really good meal. And I found out a new spot in the city, which is cool that he showed me.
Was
And
it
then
just a
last
dinner
night,
or like you walked around
yeah,
out?
it was dinner and like a walk around basically, and then we ended up having like matcha lattes at some rooftop, something like along the way.
Wow.
Because he was like, "Oh, have you ever been here?" I'm like, no. And then, yeah, that was that. And then what was the last thing? Oh, I went to the gym with a friend,
Hmm.
which was really fun.
Okay.
Kind of far, yeah, but that's
Oh, it wasn't
really
like your
fun.
normal gym.
No, it was a train more in like near the pipe. It was really fancy this
Oh,
location. That
that's
was really
also
glad I
my
went. And then that
my
led to a barbecue afterwards with some other friends. So really nice afternoon.
I think that might have been my old train more. I mean, there are two in the pipe, but
Salvin Fine it's called.
don't remember. Was it on the like the was it two floors?
Was it? Yeah,
Oh, okay, then it wasn't mine.
but overall, yeah, I think it's like there's viewership in saying yes to things, and in my head, that's always in the back of my mind now whenever anything happens. It's like,
Okay.
just keep saying
So you don't
yes.
regret any of the events, activities that you did, or
No.
you didn't wish that you had said no to those things.
Yeah, I
Okay.
get I also get the thing that like likely these are things we wouldn't say yes to in the first place. Anyways.
Mm. I mean, except the date, I'm assuming, but
Yeah, probably. I would have just left.
she talked a lot about finance, business.
I spoke to another friend about it afterwards about the date, and she gingerly used the term trauma dumping. So he
Uh,
talked about like family issues and
yeah, I
high
mean,
school struggles.
late 20s,
Yeah.
that shit comes up on you. Yeah. Okay. That's fun. I feel like you had more fun with your me yes week than I did. Um, because the only almost exciting thing that happened was I almost went to Groningen for the Northern Lights. Because apparently it happened on a Friday, and I was in bed, and I didn't know it was happening until the next day. I open Twitter and I see everyone posting like around the world, like in unusual countries where you wouldn't see the Northern Lights, that they saw it. So I was like, what? And then, so then I quickly do some research, and yeah, there was like a storm, sunstorm, I don't know, that like messed up the Earth's magnets and something, and so the Northern Lights were further south than usual, and Netherlands was one of the countries where you could see it. But Amsterdam has too much light pollution to see it clearly. I do know some friends who did see it on a Friday, but on Saturday it was gonna happen again, but not as visibly. We're like, okay, where's the best place to see it? Ended up being Groningen. And then I look up what time it would be, and it was like a little bit past midnight. Okay, I can get a train to go there, but I can't get one to come back. I can get a really cheap one night Airbnb, but I had to check in at 9 p.m. and I couldn't get there by 9 p.m. Like the earliest train would get me there at like almost midnight. So then if I do go there, I'd be stranded for the rest of the night. So due to logistical reasons, I couldn't go. And then the Northern Lights ended up not happening anyways on the Saturday, so I did miss that opportunity. But there was some excitement in me of like, I guess just the thought of doing something wild and dangerous. So that was fun enough to fill my adrenaline meter for the day. And then last thing was pretty normal. Just went to a party at a club on a Saturday. Hadn't gone in a very long time, I would say. So that was fun. Because the last time I went, it was a Kanye West themed one, and that was really fun. So this one I had a high expectations for, and when we got there, it was like we tried to go as late as possible by public transport standards. And we were still like quite early because we were you could count the number of people that were in when we got in. So we're like, what? This is gonna be so bad. But then we persevered, and it became really good at the end. And yeah, I had fun. I had fun. I just yeah, I think it did teach me like I guess what the moral of the story was more practically that yeah, you should like there is fun in uncomfortability, I guess like like doing it getting out of your comfort zone to experience new situations, new life events. It just gives you stories to tell, places to be. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I wouldn't go full out saying yes to everything from now on, but like I'd think twice about saying no to something. I think that's a good mentality to have going into your early 20s
Yeah, I like the
and
idea.
at any point in life. But
I like the idea of do it for the story.
yeah.
I think the story will turn out a lot better than maybe the actual event. You ended up walking a lot,
Oh,
right?
yeah. So another thing that happened was I my bike broke during this period, and due to reasons that I don't want to go into, the place that I go to fix my bike was closed every time that I tried. So it was a new experience being on foot everywhere, but the weather was good, so it wasn't that bad of an experience. Just the balls of my foot hurt, but it was good. Like at the food festival, like that whole day, I think I walked like almost 20,000 steps, which was interesting. I don't care too much for cardio or losing burning calories, but who says no? Get it? Cause yes, yeah. Um, should we?
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
I have a small story which
Oh
I
yeah.
feel about it going. Like, oh god, I asked a friend what to do about the date, right? And then she decided to bring it up in front of many people the next day. So
I hate when that happens.
not planned for other people to find out, and then maybe you and this friend. Um, and then another person happened to be in this area who became very interested in this conversation. And this person made a comment of, what if your date asks for a blowjob?
What?
What would you say? And I said, well, according to the rules of this week, I'd have to say yes. But luckily, my friend came to my like help because she was like, what person asks for it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, no, people are weird. That would have been an uncomfortable situation.
That would have. But luckily, we didn't get scammed by any weird ads online or anything during this week, like the movie.
Did that happen? Oh yeah,
I
that
don't
did
know why.
happen. Oh, right, right, right. Oh yeah, that could have. Ooh, I didn't think about that. That could have made this a very interesting week, to say the least.
If you ever get the opportunity to get candy from a stranger, what do you say?
Yes.